No. That door be open. Also, people can walk in and they would.
They can, but it's deep.
Yeah. Don't want it open. Don't want it to pull open, leave it open.
Oh,
That door.
that door. Yeah, just, it's only in case.
Thank you. Councillors. Welcome to our meeting. No apologies this evening. I'd just like to start with an acknowledgement of country. The Central Coast Council acknowledges the Palawa people as the traditional custodians of Wet'suwet'en, Tasmania, including the land, community, sea and waters where we live and work. Our community respectfully acknowledges the Pana tribe of the Northern Country of Tasmania, their continuing relationship to this land and their ongoing living culture. We recognise that we have much to learn from the First Nations people who represent one of the world's oldest continuing cultures. And we pay our respects to elders past and present and to all First Nations peoples living in and around the Central Coast community. Now our prayer. May the words of our lips and the meditations of our hearts be always acceptable in the sight of God. Move straight on to 1.1, the confirmation of the minutes. Can I have somebody move that they be confirmed? Thanks, Councillor Hiscock, second, and Councillor Overton. Any queries on those minutes? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 2.1 is councillor workshops. There's a list here and there's an addition to the monthly update that was held on the 2nd of May. I have somebody make that report very soon.
So moved, Mayor.
Any queries? Workshops, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 3.1 is Mayor's communications. There's nothing to add. 3.2 is the Mayor's diary. There's a list there and the Deputy Mayor also represented council at on Anzac Day. Can I have somebody move that report?
Move, Mayor.
Thanks.
Second.
Second, Councillor Vine. Any queries on any of those items?
Just one thing, Mayor, I attended, as you did, the Shop Top Living Forum. It was interesting. There wasn't a lot of interest, unfortunately. I think there's some potential there for it. I was speaking to one of the attendees over the last couple of days, and he was basically expressed a bit of disappointment in that area as well, that there wasn't a lot of interest. I hope it's something that we sort of pursue a bit further, perhaps in some areas around parking and things like that, to be able to encourage that a little bit more. So, but it's not something we should give up on, I don't think.
Registered them that who didn't turn up, but wasn't disappointed. But I would like to commend our staff because they did an excellent job, I thought,
Yeah.
You know, from our planning department and our building and Daryl as director. So it was, I thought they did a great job to give up the evening and discuss those things. No other queries on those items. I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 4.3 is declarations of interest. Nobody wishing to declare an interest. 4.1, councillor reports. Councillor must have been appointed by the council in the local organisations.
Thank you, Mayor, and forgive me because I'm madly on the hunt for it, but it has been previously circulated in relation to their Disability and Access Inclusion Committee work that we're doing. We did previously circulate to councillors the drop-in workshops, and again, our staff are doing great work to pull together a drop-in an information session that is actually really engaging and interesting. So it is spread over a number of days and a number of times, including a Saturday. So I would just encourage councillors or your family members or anyone who has an interest in that space, if you could promote it so we can make sure that we hear from the whole community for that inclusive plan, that would be much appreciated.
Very sorry that I'm not able to attend myself. I'd like to actually
There's a survey you can do, Mayor. It's still live. Crossovers.
But I guess it's all in whatever it is. Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to report? Okay.
Thanks, Mayor. 4 weeks ago, we finally back to Caves to Canyon Tourist Association meeting, and we had a really good roll up. I think about 20 odd businesses there, and it's great to be able to walk into a room and all the businesses are going okay. Unbelievable. And it's just, I think for the hospitality business, apart from finding staff, there's not too many issues. And just a couple of things that was mentioned. All the praises for all council staff and whoever's in charge of the hot rods and the people that was helped out and put it on. Unbelievable. They appreciate that from, and what council done to help bring that event to Ulverstone, and they saw the benefits of that. So, and of course that brings the next level of interest. What else can we do? What else can council do? But I think it proves that council could do and could help, along with volunteers, to put on a really great show.
That was
And
amazing.
it was an amazing show. And it's, again, we often think that businesses or people are not in touch what council is about and what councils are doing in some of its work. And they're sitting there and they're going through the things that, might be rubbish bins come up, the west end of Main Street, Penguin. And I know we're doing all the rubbish bin strategy, Paul, and all this sort of stuff in public spaces. And I honestly hadn't picked it up. I drove down there Saturday and for sure there's no rubbish bins from about the railway station onwards, all the way through Bar at the top end. And so it's an item to put down there. And of course, with the pathway, the shared pathway going through Sulphur Creek, and I know it's come up over time before. Why didn't we think of a spot for penguin viewing? So perhaps that can be put down on your list of things that you might look into the future after your crossings and after it's all in place and people are using it. And this is a proper penguin live animal viewing too, not just the make-believe one, because they do believe, as far as penguins concerned, that if we could get some penguin viewing out at Sulphur Creek, it would keep people to stay in there, staying around that area. So to bring that up. And the group is really on board about us reviewing our visitor strategy and our place branding or our marketing strategy. And I think when you sit and listen to businesses that are somewhat near thriving, they bring that level of joy and that enthusiasm around. And it was great to be there. I front up again tomorrow night, so it'll be interesting tomorrow night to see how it's going to go through winter, how their businesses are going to go through winter. But all in all, they believe that the community in Central Coast is in a pretty good spot, and it is in a pretty good spot, and their businesses are going okay. So that's on the Caves to Canyon, man.
Any other reports? Yeah. Move on to 5.1 is leave of absence. No notifications. 6.1 is deputations. There are none. 7.1 petitions. None. So 8.1 is councillor questions without notice. Wrong.
No, Mayor.
Councillor Beswick.
No, Mayor.
Councillor Duclos.
No, Mayor.
Councillor Bryant.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Overton.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Ford.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. One to the Director of Community Services.
No, thank you, Mayor.
No, thanks, Mayor.
was councillor questions on notice and questions have been received. 9.1 is public question time. It will be held at 6:40. Public questions taken on notice. The no public questions were taken on notice thereafter. Move on to general management. 10.1 minutes and notes of committees of the council. Can I have somebody move that report be received?
So moved, Mayor.
Second, councillor Archer. Any queries on those minutes? Motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. 10.2 is volunteer. We've got an updated which will be in front of you. Can I have somebody move that please? Councillor Bannion, second, councillor Rose. No queries. I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed? 10.3 is contracts and agreements. I think you've got an updated schedule there as well. Can I have somebody move that please?
So moved.
Thanks.
I'll second that.
Queries on those contracts and agreements?
Mayor, it's just good to see that block at Penguin there finalised. It's over a long period of time.
Queries, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Point 4 is correspondence addressed to mayor and councillors that are scheduled there. Can I have somebody move that be received?
So moved.
Thank you, councillor Van Ryn. Councillor Fuller, second. Any queries on that correspondence? Motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. 10.5, councillor Fuller, governance model for Penguin Mountain Bike. Councillor Fuller would like to move.
I would, Mayor, thank you.
Have a second.
I'd like to second that motion, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Not a lot to say that isn't covered there in the agenda, and councillors are well aware of the presentation that we had from the folks at the Cradle Coast Mountain Bike Club, and I'm pleased to work with them to help them consider how best to forward to move that work forward, because as I've indicated there, it isn't just about the mountain biking, it is about the other activities that take place in that precinct, and we're all familiar with it. We all, many of us use it ourselves, and we're all very appreciative of the work that have been done by volunteers and other groups over the time. However, it is a significant part of the life and the recreation now in Central Coast. So I think there's an opportunity at this point in time to come together with the club and with council staff to look at the best governance model going forward. Appreciate the General Manager's input there when the suggestion was that, well, let's have a look and see what other governance models exist around the state. Committee of Council may be the best model, but it may not. So I'm happy to accept that advice from the General Manager and ask councillors to support that motion. I know that the club are keen to get together and start those conversations and get on with the work. Amend the motion to the table.
Thanks, Mayor. Like Councillor Fuller, I must admit I was very impressed with the presentation that we received a few months ago. And when Chris Fletcher and Craig Kerr came to talk to us, the vision that they've got for the Dial Range and the area between basically Penguin and Gunns Plains is great, and it would rival probably Derby and some of those areas. I really want to commend the committee that's started the park that we've got here in the Dial. They've done it a lot with volunteer work, and when you hear the story that most of the other parks around Tasmania have all been done basically with government funds, and for what they've done up there, it's magnificent. It's something that we as a council should have perhaps been to the forefront and perhaps been trying to get some of these things before, but until we actually get shown what the possibilities are for that area. So excited for the future with that. Happy to second this motion, and hopefully we can work with them. And we were talking recently about events. The Dial's got just as good an opportunity perhaps for an annual event, and we've talked about that through various other groups that sort of complements the street rides, mountain biking and so forth. So yeah, look, as I said before, I'm excited for the future of this and see what comes out. Thanks, Matt.
Yvonne.
First of all, I'd like to commend Councillor Fuller on the motion. I too was very impressed by the workshop that was given by the Mountain Bike Club, and went away from that meeting thinking, how can we assist in this? This is the starting point in that assistance, and I'd like to see everything on the table and be able to work through it to see how we can assist with the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and echoing the other sentiment around the table. And just to note that the as presented in the report, the Mountain Biking Club have produced a significant document in their master plan to look forward to, and you know, knowing that the potential is there and that they have a plan for the future, and it's not just, you know, going nowhere. I think it's the important part of this, and why it's the right time to progress this and to get involvement at this levels.
Just echoing on from everyone else, it was a great workshop. It was really exciting to see, you know, visions of what can be in the future. I mean, it's such a great, let's say not a hot spot, but a hot industry at the moment, biking. So yeah, it would be great to see it go ahead, and you know, for us to be able to do whatever we can. It also keeps our local bike shops in the coast in business and that as well. So that's always a bonus. So hopefully that, you know, can help grow traineeships, etc. in those areas in retail. So yeah, so it'd be interesting to see how it all goes, and yeah, be good to be a part of watching it unfold.
Mayor, I will just add a couple of, and commend them, Councillor Fuller, for the motion. These sort of things, and I think if you can go back to when it was started, how much we probably wanted to get involved, but it was voluntary at the time, and different landowners and everything else is against what council would want to be able to input to way back when it first started, and it's moved on from there. But these sort of voluntary things that get off the ground, they create a destination for people to come to. So when we talk about marketing and place branding, they are your destination. They are, you know, they're your action plan. As Councillor Beswick said, there's opportunities for hilltop or mountaintop tree runs and treks, and like, it's endless. And if you Google around the world what people do now in their pastime, it's not only mountain biking, running, it's walking, it's a bit of everything. And we've got surf to bush, and you know, bush to country. That's just so much. And it's always said the Dial range is our biggest asset, and at the moment it's costing us nothing. It's the destination that people want to get out of the cities and come to. And I do congratulate these volunteers and their foresight way back then to take on that old car park racetrack there and do something with it. And that's what started it. Just have a go. So really do commend the motion.
Oh, I think the whole Dial range is our greatest asset, and it has been developed by the bushwalkers over, you know, the Northwest Walkers over the time, and now mountain biking people. And it's not the first time that they've come and presented to us. They've done it on several occasions over the years, and but you know, they have been reasonably independent. But I do think council has a role to help this club and the other users of the Dial range to do a plan and develop it so that it can be an economic stimulus to other businesses in our area as well. I think it's really important that council come up with some sort of a model where we can all work together on and bring the Dial range forward.
Mayor, can I just add one comment? Am I allowed to, Councillor?
I think if you can phrase it sort of as a question.
It's a question. I don't know whether people would remember, and we talk about vision and about what the dial was worth. Those tracks were cut by the RED scheme back 56 years ago. So the vision was always there. It's just now it's got to be brought together and built on that, because I was part of that scheme, cutting those tracks up through the dial. And it's a beautiful place.
Councillor Fuller, would you like to close?
Thank you, Mayor. My apologies for my mobile phone, and I acknowledge that I now have to pay $20 to a charity of your choice. I'm excited to hear the enthusiasm for this motion around the table. That's great, and as some of you pointed out, sometimes it's about timing and the right timing for things to occur. And obviously, former councillor Terry McKenna would have been very excited to support, to talk to you, Councillor Carpenter, about the RED scheme and all the good things that got done through. Was commendable. So as we said, it is a draw card for a lot of humans, and of course the more humans we put into the natural environment increases the amount of harm that we will do to it whilst spending time there. So a lot of the work that needs to be done is about preventing that harm and restoring bits that we do harm, and you know, making sure that what's the expression, people take photos, not leave their rubbish behind. So
Yeah.
sorry,
Leave no trace.
leave no trace. Thank you. So thank you for your support. Look forward to getting on with the work.
I've got the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Six, development application determinations. If you're there, can I have somebody move that be received, please? Yeah, second, Councillor Beswick. Queries on those determinations? Councillor Fuller.
No, Mayor, just to say how great it is to see some action there on Ironcliffe and Leicester Road. It's been a little while coming, that Leicester Road development, and it will make a lovely place for some families to live. So look, I'm pleased to see that.
Favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. 10.7, Council acting as a planning authority.
Move, Mayor.
Councillor Biscuit, seconded Councillor DeFrose. Depending which way I look, I think that in that case.
I just need to speak up, Mayor.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion's. So 10.8, it's a subdivision. You've got an updated.
I'd like to move an alternate motion, Mayor. It's tabled.
Carpenter, do you have a second? Thanks, Councillor Bannerman. Councillor Carpenter, would you like to speak to this one? Or perhaps,
Mayor, I've been instructed to read the alternate motion, so please bear with me. Fortunately. Subdivision consolidation, creation of 2 lots in residential dwelling setbacks and building envelope for all dwellings and reliance on C7.0 Natural Assets Code at 2A Lockett Street and 23 Heathcote Street, Ulverstone, application number DA 2021346. That the application for subdivision consolidation and creation of 2 lots and residential dwelling setbacks and building envelope for all dwellings and reliance on the C7.0 Natural Assets Code at 2A Lockett Street and 23 Heathcote Street, Ulverstone, be approved as the planning authority believes the development would not cause an unreasonable loss of amenity, subject to the following conditions. The development must be substantially in accordance with the plans by plans to build drawing numbers A00 to A13 dated 4th of March 2022 and plan of subdivision prepared by Alan Dodds dated 18th of October 2021. 2, the development must be in accordance with the conditions of Taswater submission to planning authority notice reference number TWDA 2022 00507 whatever CC dated 21st of April 2022. Don't you laugh. The development must be in accordance with the recommendations contained in the Natural Values Assessment prepared by Environmental Consulting Options Tasmania, dated the 28th of February 2022. Thought you would have said stop, wouldn't you? Infrastructure services. 4, works undertaken must not result in a dust or noise nuisance to the adjoining properties. 5, while site building works are occurring and until all exposed soil areas are permanently stabilised against erosion, the developer must minimise on-site erosion and the release of sediment or sediment-laden stormwater from the site and work areas in accordance with the soil and water management on standard building and construction sites. Fact sheet 2, published by the Department of Natural Resources and Environment, Tasmania. 6, the 2 existing curb crossovers and driveways on Heathcote Street must be used to provide access to the existing dwelling on proposed Lot 1. 7, access to the proposed Lot 2 must be provided to Lockett Street using a minimum of 3.6 metre wide to maximum 6 metre wide access curb, crossover and driveway in accordance with the approved plans. The curb crossover must be constructed by council in accordance with the Tasmanian Standard Drawing, TSD-R14-V3, urban roads, approved concrete curbs and channels profile dimensions at the owner's developer's cost. The driveway must be constructed in accordance with the Tasmanian Standard Drawing, TSD-R09-V3, urban roads driveways in a plain concrete finish by the owner developer. 10, site triangle areas adjacent to the driveway access must be kept clear of obstructions to visibility in accordance with the Tasmanian Standard Drawing, TSD-RF-01-V3, guidance to intersection and domestic access site distance requirements. 11, stormwater and associated infrastructure must be provided in accordance with the Tasmanian Standard Drawings unless otherwise required or approved by Council's Director of Infrastructure and Services. 12, a new underground stormwater connection to the Council's stormwater infrastructure must be provided to service both lots unless it can be demonstrated to the satisfaction of the Council's Director of Infrastructure Services that the existing dwelling on the proposed Lot 1 is already suitably connected to the Council's stormwater system. Stormwater runoff from buildings and hard surfaces, including from vehicle parking and manoeuvring areas on proposed Lot 2, must be collected and discharged to Council stormwater infrastructure in accordance with the National Construction Code 2019 and must not cause a nuisance to neighbouring properties. And under the please note 1, a planning permit remains valid for 2 years. If the use and or development has not substantially commenced within this period, an extension may be granted if a request is made before this period expires. Permit lapses, a new application must be made. 2, substantial commencement is the submission and approval of a building permit or engineering drawings and the physical commencement of infrastructure works on the site or an arrangement of private works authority or bank guarantee to undertake such works. 3, prior to the commencement of work, the applicant is to ensure that the category of work for any proposed building, plumbing and or demolition work is defined using the determinations issued under the Building Act 2016 by the Director of Building Control. Any notifications or permits required in accordance with the defined category of work must be obtained prior to the commencement of work. It is recommended that the Council's Building Permit Authority or a building surveyor be contacted should clarification be required. 4, solid fencing with 4.5 metres of road frontage to a height of 1.2 metres above existing ground level or fencing that has openings above the height of 1.2 metres which provides a uniform transparency of at least 30% to a maximum height of 1.8 metres is exempt and does not require planning approval. Fencing outside these requirements within a 4.5 metre of road frontage would be discretionary and require the lodgement of a planning application. Side boundary fencing is to angle down to the public road reserve boundary in accordance with the AS-NZS 2890.1 2004 parking facilities, Part 1, off-street car parking, figure 3.3, minimum sight lines for pedestrian safety. 6, the applicant is encouraged to consider planting trees on the site as a voluntary way of contributing to the objectives of Council's greening Central Coast Strategy. Running down anyway. 7, prior to commencement of works in the road reservation, obtain a works in road reservation permit in accordance with the council's working road reservation policy. 8, works associated with roads, nature strips or street trees must be undertaken by the council unless alternative arrangements are approved by the council's director, infrastructure services. This would be at the developer's cost. 9, damage or disturbance to roads, nature strips or street trees resulting from activity associated with the use on the site must be rectified to the satisfaction of the council's director of infrastructure services. This would be at the developer's cost. 10, prior to commencement of works, if required, submit an application, install stormwater connection point for any work associated with existing stormwater infrastructure. Such work must be undertaken by council unless alternative arrangements are approved by council's director, infrastructure services at developer's cost. Drainage costings as listed in the council fees and charges register reply. And 11, works associated with the existing stormwater infrastructure must be undertaken by the council unless alternative arrangements are approved by the council's director of infrastructure services. This would be at the developer's cost. And damage, 12, damage or disturbance to existing stormwater infrastructure resulting from activity associated with the development must be rectified to the satisfaction of council's director of infrastructure services, and this would be at the developer's cost.
Well done.
Yeah.
The eyes of water.
Speak
Yeah,
to
I think of that.
Speak
Or
to
another one, Case.
Yeah. Right.
would you like to say the motion?
Thanks, Mayor. Before, what I really want to emphasise here is what's allowed me to move this alternate motion is the fact that the report that the planners have done has given us the information that's given us confidence and very comfortable in putting this motion forward. And I think that's very important as far as where I sit. But I have no problem sort of putting this motion forward. I realise that our southern rear boundary distance is not what it should be, but when we think about the southern boundary, it's to protect the shading, and as it's stated in the report, shading is not going to be an issue. So for me, I think I have no issue as far as putting it up and being 2.1 from that rear boundary. I see no other issues that I can see through the report where this cannot go ahead, Mayor. And I just would put it to the table for other councillors to look at.
All right.
Yes, Mayor. I agree with Councillor Carter. It's not very often that we disagree with the planner's recommendations, but this is one occasion when I felt that I support the recommendation. So I'm pleased that the alternative motion has come forward. I went down to the property this morning and had a good look at it, and the problem of possible shading, when you think about it, the sun comes up in the east, goes to the west. By the time a property is shaded, the sun's virtually overhead. Now, there is concerns about the size of this house. I think the fact that it's built in a hollow, if you stand on Lockett Street, basically only going to see the roof. It's not going to stand out like a pimple on a pumpkin. I don't think it will. And I've got no hesitation in supporting the amended resolution.
Any other speakers?
Thanks, Mayor. I'm happy to support the motion as well, but I have got some reservations. As was noted in the report that's on the agenda, the proponent of this project had been asked to perhaps there was some slight modifications to perhaps make it not as affecting the rear southern boundary in its bulk and scale. The building is outside what is the standard building envelope. Looking at it, I don't think it would have taken too much to just sort of break that up a little bit and help. So as much as I'm prepared to support this motion, considering looking at the site as Councillor Van Rooyen has mentioned as well, and especially when there's been no objections from the landowner behind. But as I was about to say, I'd encourage anybody that is putting in any applications to listen, take not necessarily advice, but take some thought into what is the requirements, especially when you've perhaps had it mentioned to you, because in the end it just makes it so much easier. If there's been an objection, this might not have turned out this way. So as I say, I'll be supporting the alternate motion with a few reservations.
Once again, I'll be supporting the alternate motion. I believe this project to be a classic example of infill. We're now using a otherwise empty block to actually put housing on and put everybody within residential zones, which is what zoning is all about. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Like Councillor Beswick, I'm not even sure they're reservations, but again, I would, like Councillor Beswick, encourage folks to consider the advice of planning staff when those informal conversations are raised. We spend a considerable amount of time here reminding and encouraging our staff to find time to be outward looking and to be consultative, and to ensure that we have a planning department and planning staff that are receptive and enthusiastic about what people want to do. So again, it seems that it wouldn't have taken much to not only be compliant with a scheme, but perhaps to give better outcomes for those people that are going to live around the property now and into the future. So, but I'll be supporting Councillor Carpenter's alternative motion.
Just briefly, thank you very much for the expose, Gary. Just thought no one else has done that yet, so I just needed to make sure that is very well done. And you'll have sympathy for Sandra's public questions and comments now. But on a serious note, yes, I think this is one of those situations where there's the discussion of bulk and scale and what the intent is behind those conversations, and I think that the alternate motion definitely addresses why we're progressing this way. So thank you. I commend the motion.
I'll just for a brief minute, Mayor, and I do take it all on board, and I think it is fair and reasonable to ask people to come in and when you read through the report, the planners have done the best they can on this report and have offered that chance for the designer or whoever to come and say hello and see what can be done. But anyhow, we've got to where we have, and the fact there is no representations. So nobody else around there seems to think there is an issue. And we've also got to admit to the fact that the block on the southern side is still vacant and could stay vacant for another 10, 15, 20 years, and we don't know. We have the opportunity, like Councillor Viney said, to add to infill, and I think I have no issue with this, Mayor. So put it there.
All those in favour?
Aye.
To the end of community services, so Councillor Fuller, you had a question for the director.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wondering, following inquiries that I've had, whether or not we had a timeline in relation to the showground master plan. When might we be at a point where perhaps council might be able to endorse that, and the impacted community groups might be able to plan around getting on with their enthusiastic activities? We've got a timeline, Darryl.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Fuller. I'm sure it will be early next quarter when it comes back to council. We're actually getting around the impacted community groups now and working through some of those issues. So I think we're close, and I'm comfortable that we're doing good consultation around that.
Thank you.
I'll move on to infrastructure services, 10.9. There are no matters there. Minutes, 10.10 is support services statutory determinations. Somebody move. That being so, thanks councillor Fuller, second councillor Biscuit. Any queries on those determinations? Councillor Fuller.
Thank you, Mayor. I just a note of thanks, really, that expanding and has expanded little by little over a period of time, and we don't want to make it too onerous, but just wanted to thank the staff for their extra effort. It's great for ourselves and the public that might be reading the agenda on the website to see there's clear data there around dogs, around parking, around camping and camping ground checks, which is something that we've been asked about. Obviously, summer is a time when people are concerned about the level of attention that council gives all those things. So just a note to appreciate the extended version of the data. Thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Now 6:40, so we might move on to public question time. Sandra, did you receive any questions?
Yes, I have two questions from Janine Willis. First one is, what will be done about watercraft access to Watcombe Beach? At the moment now on the plans and construction, there is only one access suitable, and that is from Lions Park. The provision for watercraft at Preservation Bay has been factored more generously. Watcombe Beach is a popular fishing spot for kayaks due to its reefs and weed and somewhat protected geographical nature. I feel that the users of this beach have been forgotten in the greater picture and haven't been catered for. For example, the only ramp to the beach is at the Lions Park end. So if you were walking from Seaside Crescent, you would have to walk to the other end of the beach before accessing the beach and vice versa on return. The response to that is that the issue of access to the beach at the eastern end has recently been raised and is currently being investigated. The second question is, are the rocks between Watkins Beach and Main Beach going to be returned to their rightful spots? The Children Nature Playground in the middle area has been interfered with, and the caves that they play in have been blocked by the debris. Another example of not understanding the previous use of the beach in the current project. And the council's response is that much of the foreshore embankment is being reconstructed as part of this project. The rocks have been temporarily relocated and will be reused in the final rock wall construction. So in other words, the project's not completed yet. So they were the two that I had in writing.
And welcome to those in our gallery tonight. Are there any questions from you?
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, councillors. For those that don't know me, I'm Deborah Hancock. I'm speaking in behalf of cars that are parking along the football area where people train on the Tuesday and Thursday nights. The players turn up and park their cars everywhere, basically. So I'd like to say, could council please put in place some signage of the Penguin Football Ground for no parking all the way along Sports Complex Avenue, or put yellow lines to stop people from parking there along near the crossing that goes to the club rooms. And then the second question would be, could council please have the local police monitor these offenders, like people that park all the way along there, and fine them, because it's a major accident waiting to happen. Like, yeah, along the crossing and everywhere along there, cars travelling along that way.
Yeah, can you hear me there okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are looking at that area in general in regard to traffic management and parking, and part of that process will be to install no stopping signage along that section of Old Park Road.
And then enforce it, and then have it enforced?
The second part is the enforcement and how we deal with that. Our own officers can do that as well as police, so we'll need to determine whether the signage works.
Technically, at the moment now, there's nothing really in place, so they're technically not doing anything wrong, but it's very dangerous up along there, especially at night time when you get families walking along and you can't see on that crossing And if you drive along there and another car comes the other way, someone then has to reverse all the way back. It's not very good.
So as I said, it is more than just a parking issue. There is an entire traffic management issue there to be dealt with, and we are investigating that as well. But certainly the signage is being looked at.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
No.
But it's got to take that as a question.
There's no other questions. On to 10.11, which is the amendment to the animal control bylaw. Report there. Can I have somebody move? Thanks, Councillor Van Ryn. Second, Councillor History. Councillor Van Ryn, would you like to say?
Well, yes, Mayor, I believe it is important that we have animal control bylaws. We have reviewed it, and these are the recommendations, and this is what it will be. But the important part is I'm hoping that it will be policed. I wish we had an animal control bylaw for the country areas. Took a ride up to Guns Plains the other day, and there's a pig farm up there with the pigs running wild. They're a nuisance in the local area, and to think that we've got no power to do something about it. And it's been talked about a lot, even at a local government association level, but we urgently need legislation behind us and the power to do something about it. This pig farm, look, it really is a tourist attraction for all the wrong reasons. Never seen anything like it, and we've got to do our best to bring these sort of properties under control, and just. Now, also, while I'm at it, we also need powers to control some of the derelict properties in the municipality. You know where they are, I know where they are. Some of those properties are also disgraceful. I feel sorry for people that have to live next door. Yeah, we are getting off the track, but we need legislation and we need teeth to do something about all these things. We are getting off the track, but at least have an opportunity to say.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I endorse Councillor Van Ryn in putting this up there and moving it. What I do is would love to see the communication at the public there for the 21 days, so see if we can get some feedback. I think when we first brought this in place, there was a bit of backwards and forwards, and people, too many fowls and not enough roosters and all this sort of stuff. So if we can get honest feedback when it goes and is adopted for good, then it's only got to be updated every now and then. So I think the changes that are made are relevant and are important for the people, and it'll just be interesting to see how it goes. See what feedback we do get, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. So yes, pleased to see that possibly predominantly the staff feedback have captured and informed this extra version of the policy, and the things that they are hearing and seeing. It may well be there. I was just wondering if we have an indication of how many. Just to Councillor Carpenter's point about consultation, I was just wondering if there was a list or a group of people that we've dealt with through this process where we can deliberately email or target or write to them to gauge their feedback as well, as opposed to just the advocate in the social media. Is there a targeted way? So that's really a question to the director.
Thanks, Councillor Bullitt. So at this point, this process is to get endorsement to go out for public consultation, which will be the next phase. And at this point, obviously, the social media press, but also any relevant interest groups. We started to list some of the relevant interest groups like the Alderson Poultry Club, etc., etc. And also we'll go back to any feedback that we received from the last time the bylaw was produced and see if we can get some additional new feedback from those people as well.
Excellent, thank you. On me.
Any other speakers? Councillor Hissing.
Yeah, just to acknowledge the work from the Joint Standing Committee subordinate legislation, just because I like that group. It's such a great name. No, the work that they've done to bring that back to us as well from that community organisation submission. So, you know, there's acknowledgement of to and from there. So recognised. Thank you.
Councillor Hissing.
Yeah, just a very quick one, Mayor. I think one of the major anomalies that's there to be rectified is the caged bird. Because the poultry definition originally included a canary, so you can only have one canary. So it's good to see that in the end, yes, we need bylaws, but at times we need to just edit some of the rules so that it doesn't sort of be all encompassing. Yeah, are we pleased to support the motion?
Speakers? Oh, sorry, Councillor Raymond, would you like to?
Well, Mayor, I guess it's all been said. I mean, I'd like to hold the floor for another half an hour on this topic, but
2 minutes, Councillor.
You've only got a 2 minute
All those in favour?
Aye. He's done and dusted now.
Further duster.
Which brings us to the closure of the meeting of the public. I reckon somebody.
So move, Mayor.
Yeah.
Motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
So we just,
It's got on camera.
I